This episode is sponsored by Path Financial. Living sustainably isn't just about the choices you make every day. It's about where your money goes too. Path Financial are award-winning, chartered independent financial advisors helping people invest with purpose in the UK. From pensions to savings and investments, Path makes sure your money supports positive change for you and for the planet. Path Financial, ethical financial advice for a brighter, more sustainable future. Welcome to The World Unspun. Before we get into today's episode, we want to hear from you. Since we launched this show last year, we've sought to bring the pages of our print magazine to life and reach more people in more ways with our unique form of journalism. With thousands of listeners in dozens of countries, we want to make this show the best it can be. That's where you come in. What episodes did you enjoy the most? Is there anything you didn't like? What should we cover next, and how? Check our show notes for the link to this short survey, and thanks again so much for listening.
No one knows about West Papua, and it's just as bad as Palestine and Gaza, and people don't know about it.
I have received a number of serious threats. First is the physical threat, when my vehicle's brakes were blown and I was almost run off a cliff. The second time, my car was vandalized, including breaking the windscreen and windows. Another time, they threw a bomb at my house, and last year they bombed my office.
Me and my family, we are the only West Papuans currently living in England as of today.
Indonesia is destroying an area of forest size of Wales, the largest deforestation project in human history.
If the Southeast Asian rainforest goes, then we can wave bye-bye to the sustainability of the planet.
Unity is what Indonesia fears most. It is our strongest weapon. We are one people with one soul, one destiny.
Welcome to The World Unspun. I'm your host, Maxine Betteridge-Mose. You may not have heard of it, but West Papua is an extraordinary place. It is home to one of the world's most important rainforests, third only to the Amazon and Congo basins, teeming with species found nowhere else on the planet. Civilizations here stretch back tens of thousands of years. But it's a region that is increasingly under threat from Indonesia's military occupation. Rapid deforestation, resource extraction, and deadly human rights crackdowns are on the rise.
I need people in the world to know the truth about West Papua.
Truth on West Papua. Karena selama ini semua informasi yang keluar dari
Because most of the information exposed from West Papua has been fake.
Tidak betul, tidak benar, bohong.
For those that have been following the situation in West Papua, these warnings are nothing new. Many of our readers will know about the West Papuan struggle for independence from dedicated issues of New Internationalist magazine from 2002 and again in 2017. In fact, our office in Oxford is right across the hall from the Free West Papua campaign. But today, this story needs our attention and action once again. Indonesia is currently overseeing the world's biggest ever deforestation project near the town of Merauke. New research shows the extent of the UK's involvement in an occupation that has been described as a slow genocide. In this episode, you'll hear the voices of West Papuans fighting to be free. We'll talk to experts about new research that exposes how extractive companies are profiting from Papuan repression, and hear Indigenous leaders lay out their visions of the new country they want to build. With enough international support, those visions could at last become reality. Stay tuned.
This train is for Oxford. The next station is Oxford.
It's a grey and drizzly morning on December 1st, and I'm heading to the West Papua Independence Day celebrations in Oxford. As I walk through the city centre, I spot the blue, white, and red Morning Star flag flapping in the wind above the town hall. Flying this flag in West Papua or Indonesia is a criminal offence that could result in 15 years behind bars. A few dozen of us gather inside one of the grand Victorian rooms, and we listen to the West Papuan national anthem. The mood is muted. West Papua enjoyed less than a year of independence after the end of Dutch colonial rule in 1961. Within months, a sham referendum, organized by the Indonesian government, saw their lands, forests, and mountains handed over to Indonesian President Suharto's military regime, along with the vast reserves of gold, copper, and natural gas buried beneath them. Today, the ambition and destructiveness of Indonesian development in West Papua continues to wreak havoc on people and the planet. Benny Wenda is an indigenous leader from the Lani tribe who was arrested by the Indonesian government in 2002 for peacefully advocating for West Papuan independence. He is now the exiled leader of the United Liberation Movement for West Papua, an umbrella group founded in December 2014 that unites the disparate factions of the freedom movement. Benny addressed the room on December 1st as his wife and daughter Bella looked on.
Indonesia is destroying an area of forest sized of wilds. The last deforestation project in human history.
In June 2024, Indonesia broke ground on a project to clear 3 million hectares of land for sugarcane and rice production within 3 years. It's the most destructive initiative in the history of West Papua, which has been under Indonesian occupation since the 1960s.
From the beginning of 2018 until 2025, approximately 80,000 West Papuans internally displaced. Today, the number of raised to over 100,000, forced from their home by massacre and related bombing. The Indonesian military used drone, missile, helicopter, sniper, rifle, and fighter jet, the made in Europe, here.
The Indonesian military has been accused of carrying out a wave of brutal extrajudicial killings and torture in West Papua in recent months. Last October, the Indonesian military killed 15 West Papuans, only 3 of whom were connected to the West Papua National Liberation Army, the armed wing of the Free West Papua movement. In 2024, soldiers were accused of killing teenager Pianus Sani after his body was discovered on the side of a road after an arrest. A high school student went missing after being arrested alongside a friend. Relatives say that the two were tortured as soldiers tried to get information about the armed struggle in the area, threatening to burn them alive. In the same month, Alex Sondago, who was reportedly disabled with a mental disorder, was arrested. Photos later released show he was injured following his detention, and although his body wasn't found, his family believes that he has now died as a result of torture. In December 2024, 16-year-old Julianus Abugao was allegedly tortured in Mamba village, eventually dying from his injuries.
While Indonesia destroyed West Papua, they also hide the crime. This is why the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has been denied access. Despite demand from more than 110 UN member states, it was been nearly 7 years since Indonesia promised UN tax-money mission. This is why we mean you, our solidarity group, friends worldwide, continue to advocate for our cause. What Indonesia hide is established, you been realized.
Benny faced arrest numerous times while advocating for a free West Papua as a young man, including once when he had a smuggled copy of our 2002 issue in his backpack. Here he is talking about the experience in a 2018 interview on our YouTube channel.
When the police picked me up, they found a copy of the magazine about West Papua. It let them know that the world care about my fate. In some way, this global community protect me. It may even have saved my life.
But this wasn't the only time his life was at stake.
I was put in prison by Indonesian military just because of our peacefully campaigning. They charged me 25 years. So then 1 year I was in prison, and then they want to kill me in prison. So 3 times they're trying to assassinate me. If I stay, I will be killed. So that's it, I decided to escape.
Benny climbed through the vents of the prison, scaling the border walls of broken glass and barbed wire.
All bleeding and cut. And then I jump on the other side. And then from there, almost 2 weeks, to cross the border to Papua New Guinea side. In the day I hide and at night I walk on the road. If in the bush I can't survive because it's very difficult.
At this point, news of his escape had made international headlines.
My life in danger, and Radio Australia, Radio New Zealand broadcast very clearly, and even NBC News in Papua New Guinea announced rebel leader escaped from prison, and then along the border Indonesia military already building up. So I have to make sure that I'm not caught by Indonesia, so I have to be smart too.
Finally, after 3 months on the run, Benny made it to Papua New Guinea. He was able to fly to the UK, where he was granted political asylum. He first lived in Norfolk before moving to Oxford, where he has remained ever since. So you haven't been back to West Papua since?
No. If I go back, I will end a dead man, you know?
Benny says Oxford has become a second home to him. It's here that he launched the Free West Papua campaign, which has received support from Oxford city councillors and the deputy mayor. Their demands include a fact-finding mission to West Papua from the UN High Commission, full membership of the Melanesian Spearhead Group, and a new referendum for self-determination. But while the movement is growing, so too is Indonesia's increasingly repressive attempts to exploit the territory and crack down on dissent, including the journalists reporting on it. Here's Victor Mambor, a Papuan journalist I spoke to from his home in Jayapura.
I have received a number of serious threats. First is the physical threat, where my vehicle's brakes were blown and I was almost run off a cliff. The second time, my car was vandalized, including breaking the windscreen and windows. Another time, they threw a bomb at my house, and last year they bombed my office.
Indonesia imposes a media ban on West Papua, which means the scant press coverage is often drawn largely from Indonesian military press releases. This makes the work of people like Victor more important than ever.
Being a journalist in West Papua is not easy, because we face many challenges and problems, especially as Indigenous West Papuan journalists. We are often stigmatized as part of the Free Papua movement, and we face discrimination, making it difficult to get access, and we often experience intimidation.
Indonesia claims that those advocating for West Papuan self-determination are a minority of separatists. But campaigners tell a different story. Between May and July 2017, a staggering 1.8 million people, representing 71% of the indigenous West Papuan population, signed a petition calling for an internationally monitored independence vote.
So what I did, and with all the solidarity campaign, what we did is we want to show Indonesia claim that it's done deal. So let our people to choose. Some of them are put their blood on it. They can't sign it, and they just put their blood on it.
According to the Free West Papua campaign, 57 West Papuans were arrested during that time for supporting the petition, and 54 were tortured at the hands of Indonesian security forces. At the end of that summer, the petition was smuggled out of West Papua and officially validated by Dr. Jason McLeod of the University of Sydney. As West Papuan leaders handed it to the UN's Decolonization Committee in September 2017, McLeod confirmed that it was, quote, an impressive example of community organization and mobilization across West Papua, one that reflects the sincere demands of the West Papuan people for self-determination. Indonesia called the whole thing a publicity stunt. Benny says the petition was ultimately not accepted by the UN because West Papua falls out of the committee's mandate.
Yes, before West Papua was listed in decolonization, but when Indonesia took over 1963, 1st of May 1960, they removed it. So that's why this petition to remind them we were there and to show that we're coming back.
Today, Benny is still working to put West Papua on the agenda at the UN General Assembly, using the petition as evidence of his people's vote. Meanwhile, despite the information blackout, there are plenty of other things getting into and out of West Papua. And for this, Indonesia has found Britain to be a friendly ally.
British companies are all over West Papua. They're in 3 sectors: agricultural plantation, metal mining, and gas production.
To better understand this relationship, I spoke to an expert focused on law and corporate power.
I'm David White. I'm Professor of Climate Justice at Queen Mary University of London, and I'm co-director of the Centre for Climate Crime and Climate Justice.
David and his co-author, Samira Saunders, have published the first ever audit of Britain's involvement in the decades-long conflict in West Papua. Their research reveals how household names, including BP and Unilever, are profiting from mining, gas extraction, and palm oil plantations that are poisoning water and food sources and tearing communities from their ancestral lands.
Palm oil is highly contentious and a major source of conflict, and yet we have 14 major British investors who are profiting from the development of palm oil in West Papua. Indonesia is the biggest palm oil producer in the world. And at the moment, another thing that we found looking at what's going on in West Papua now, we think it's the biggest, or it's the site where palm oil development is accelerating the fastest in Indonesia. So there's also a connection between the conflict and the rate of development of palm oil.
There's also Grasberg, the largest gold mine and the second largest copper mine in the world.
So the Grasberg gold mine involved the British company Rio Tinto. The leading exploiter of the gas in the region is BP.
For the indigenous Amungme tribe, the mountain on which the mine is located is a sacred place. But every day, an estimated 300,000 tons of toxic tailings, largely untreated, are deposited straight into the Achqua River. Grasberg's operations have also led to mass displacement of the Sempan and Komoro people and the destruction of the local ecosystem. The UN estimates that there are between 60,000 and 100,000 internally displaced people in West Papua, representing nearly 2% of the population.
So the Indonesian state has established a policy of transmigration, which is based on the destruction of traditional ways of living, the replacement of local foodstuffs by industrial plantations, and so on. So that context is really crucial. This is a repression that's industrial and a racism that's also industrial. And that's quite difficult for people to contend with because, of course, Indonesia, the post-colonial state, is the repressive power in this context. But because there was a coalition of Western interests led by the US, of course, there are British companies involved. So British companies, even though they invest at a distance, and even though they might deny direct complicity in what is going on, are implicated because their money is behind this repression.
Another site of violence is BP's Tangguh Bay liquefied natural gas processing facility, which occupies 3,200 hectares of land in the far west of the territory.
Because journalists aren't allowed into that territory, we really don't know, the extent to which BP security may have been involved or may not have been involved in those evictions of people. But we do know that at least 10 villages have been evicted and the people have been forced to relocate because of the Tangguh Bay liquid natural gas facility since it was established. So obviously BP doesn't tell us exactly how much profit it makes, but we can look at the production figures and the average revenue you get from those production figures, and we estimate that the average annual revenue from Tangguh Bay alone for BP is well over $5 billion a year. So considerable profits. It's a very significant asset to BP. It's a very significant asset to the Indonesian government. That gas that BP is producing over the lifetime of the fields in that facility is going to produce, we estimate, about 1.5 billion tonnes of carbon. Now that's the equivalent of the net reduction of all European Union emissions between 2015 and 2030. That's just a comparison. So it basically obliterates 15 years of the reduction of emissions in all European countries. So that's hugely significant in terms of the climate. If the Southeast Asian rainforest goes, then we can wave bye-bye to the sustainability of the planet.
Despite not having a seat at the UN table, the West Papua government in waiting have released a green vision for a new West Papuan state based on indigenous rights, forest protection, and a rapid transition to a zero-carbon world. An independent West Papua would make ecocide a crime, provide free education and healthcare to its citizens while serving notice to extractive industries on its lands. It presents an inspiring blueprint for the kinds of climate action that a government might take in stark contrast to the inadequate plans presented by so many sitting governments at UN climate events. Here's Raki Ap, the official West Papuan spokesperson for the Green State Vision, at COP28 in Dubai.
We're going to be in those international spaces, and this is one of them, because we have true solutions to protect our forest and our ecosystems and to all people in the world to stop climate change. So support us.
You can read more about this Green State Vision via the links in our show notes. Last year, more than 90 West Papuan tribes, political organizations, religious and political groups announced the first ever major boycott campaign of products and brands implicated in the Indonesian occupation. These include brands associated with West Papuan palm oil, including Hershey's, Kit Kat, Smarties, Aero, Oreo, Ritz, Pantene, and herbal essences, as well as oil companies like BP. Here's Bella Wenda, the daughter of Benny Wenda, outside a protest at the BP headquarters in London last November.
To feel so close to something as big that has had such an impactful, a huge detrimental effect on deforestation, on the killings of my people, my family, it feels surreal. I feel angry. My family all live in West Papua. I had families that have been killed due to deforestation. They've had to move houses. They had to flee. Like all my grandparents, they can't move. They live in the villages, and when the deforestation or the BP cut all of the trees, and for all the palm oils that's been currently produced as well, I had grandparents die. I had cousins die. My elders that are too old to move just die in the forest. I can't bury them. I can't go back to them. I'm shaking right now. Actually, I'm literally shaking right now because it's just like. It's a personal effect for me, but it is a bigger effect on the world.
Around the world, people who defend the land are being killed at an alarming rate. According to human rights group Global Witness, 2024 was the deadliest year on record, with a total of 324 land and environmental defenders killed or disappeared. Indigenous peoples, who protect much of the world's remaining biodiversity, are disproportionately targeted. This is particularly true in West Papua, where up to a quarter of Papuans have been killed since the 1960s. According to the Human Rights Monitor, the widespread impunity among security forces is a major driver of human rights violations in West Papua. And yet, as of this year, Indonesia has assumed the presidency of the UN Human Rights Council after the country was the only candidate from the Asia-Pacific region to put itself forward. A few weeks after my trip to Oxford, I was at another event in London, this time to meet the human rights defender Leah Yewin. Leah is an indigenous Mia woman working to protect her ancestral land in West Papua. Through her work with the Jakarta-based NGO Pusaka, she's involved in community organizing to help indigenous people gain legal recognition, strengthen their rights to the land, and restore local authority.
I choose to talk about land and forest because I think this is something that I need to talk. We don't have money, we don't have powers, we just have land and forest.
The women of Papua find themselves at the bottom of the economic and social hierarchy, and yet they form the backbone of Papuan society. In their day-to-day lives, they deal with hardship within their families and communities where they are met with a lack of basic services, inappropriate or no education, social and economic marginalization, as well as political and domestic violence. But Leah says this doesn't silence them.
In West Papua, recently, there are a lot of women that start talk about land and forests. And it's because I think we have a reason. We are women, we are women, we will have children. I have a daughter and then I have responsibility to do something. I don't want to experience something that I experience.
Still, she believes it's not about singling out the oppression of women.
I always don't want to separate any issue in West Papua. For me, all of that are connected each other. Racism, human rights violations, marginalizations, land dispossession, all of these connected.
In spite of everything I had come to learn about Papua over my months of research, the land grabbing, the killings, mass displacement, torture, and more, I wanted to know what keeps the Papuans going, where this strength of identity comes from, particularly in the face of global ignorance or indifference. So I asked Leah what makes her proud to be Papuan.
I don't have any reason to not proud to being Papuan. We are very rich. We have everything there. We have forests, we have everything. And I didn't realize that before. But right now I'm really proud to be Papua.
Her answer wasn't so different to something Benny told me when we met in Oxford.
My culture been wiped out. My identity been wiped out by Indonesians. That is my fight, is preserve my culture, my identity. I want to educate my children to understand whether they will carry on or not, but it's my obligation as a leader, as a father.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. As you can imagine, there's so much more to the story of West Papua that we simply couldn't fit within a single episode. Please do check out our show notes for links to further reading on everything you heard in today's episode, including links to our 2 dedicated magazines. Subscribers to New Internationalist get full access to our digital archive dating all the way back to 1973. This episode was hosted and produced by me, Maxine Betteridge-Mose. I'm the digital editor at New Internationalist. My co-editors are Amy Hall, Conrad Landon, Decca Muldowney, Nick Dowson, and Bethany Riley. Special thanks to Roma Robinson for reporting support in London. Our theme music has been produced by Samuel Raphael Williams, and our logo design is by Mari Foos. Audio editing is by Nasik Hamza. Thanks, and we'll be back soon.